So that's a good segue. Uh,
Yes.
so I put out a call in our company Slack. Hey, anyone interested in reading my book? And so my first book, Dungeons and Durags, Dr. V, the namesake for the show, was about me reconnecting with the Black community, and it's a
Mhm.
satirical memoir, so to speak.
Yeah.
I wrote it during the height of the Trump presidency, and it looks at what does it mean to be Black in America. And one of the narrative styles that I use is I have these two guardian angels, so to speak. One is Sam Jackson, who comes to me in the form of a guardian angel to help me be blacker, and the other is the voice of Morgan Freeman. And then I have all these interstitial.
You picked Sam Jackson to be the person to help you get blacker.
Yes,
Yes, that's what he did.
he is, but he's a manifestation. He's like a guardian angel. She's already
The
had the vision.
manifestation of who? Of who? Because it makes sense. Who you tell her
It's a
who?
manifestation, of the um Jules
Pulp
character
Fiction.
from Pulp Fiction. So he's specifically like that character from Pulp Fiction.
So
And
he's always riding Ron. Always uh,
right throughout the
set that
book
up, Ron,
about
because
I
that
can
Which,
makes a
quite
difference.
see
frankly,
why.
Dr. V, quite frankly, Dr. V is apropos to Ron Ronaldo's journey in the book. That,
Mhm.
according to him, at the start and origin of his journey, he identifies that particular character and person as the definition of what it is to be Black, like the Black.
right.
This is
Like
Black
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
It
like
wasn't.
oh,
It
that is
wasn't
part
Samuel Jackson as Mace Windu. It's Samuel Jackson as Jules.
right.
Right,
okay. Yeah,
There's
right.
a difference.
okay.
There's a difference.
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Like
yes.
Sam
Okay.
Jackson or Jules from Pulp Fiction.
I
And
am a little concerned anytime you have to take an extended amount of time to explain a character in a book. But I'm rocking with you though. I'm
good, good.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
And
yeah.
then the yin to his yang is the voice of Morgan Freeman, just the voice, not the man. And so they kind of play a
Okay.
yin and the yang. And then throughout the book are these interstitial chapters where I have basically I confess my black sins to various black pop culture icons throughout the book. So I use this device to kind of tell these stories. And in between those are more traditional essays about politics and
Uh-oh.
whatnot. That gives the setting for my next book. So
Okay.
my next book, like the last third of Dungeons and Durags, goes deeply into the role that my Christian faith played in the decisions I made throughout my life as a black man. And I wanted the next book to be a deeper dive into that. And so you started reading it. And so
Yeah.
Jade and Yolanda, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to start reading it yet, but I use a similar narrative style and device in this book, whereas instead of, well, I actually do have some pop culture icons, but it's like my
Yeah.
mom and Ray, my cousin. It starts off with the Lawrence Fishburne character from The Matrix. He's
I
in
was gonna
there.
say, yeah, you have Morpheus, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the prologue because he's at the end of Dungeons and Durags, and now he's in the prologue to this book to introduce it. And so when V was giving me some of the feedback on the book, some of the comments that she was making was kind of related to. Well, I'll let her do the talking. You tell me.
So
You put it in your own words.
yeah,
Yeah,
I used to work in a church, so I expect the church to be full of sick people. I always saw it as a hospital, so I had no
yeah.
expectations. Right, my mother is Jewish, my grandparents were Jewish, kept
Hmm.
kosher, that whole thing. My
Yeah.
mom, my name is Vrenda because she was part of the Hare Krishnas. Imagine being upper middle class Jew running off.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
right.
Where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, a lot of places. I was born in Philadelphia. I spent summers in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I saw that in the book. Yeah.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in Virginia. I spent a little time in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
We can
Yeah.
talk
H-Town.
about them.
Yeah. We talked about that
Um,
earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so as I read the book, I delivered the feedback that I felt that some of the references were inserted in order to give distance from really telling us how you were feeling. So if you reference Morpheus, you don't have to actually tell me what you were feeling. And I felt a little cheated, especially in one section where you're talking about a very private and personal event that happened that should have shattered
You
by
can say
any
what
and
it
all
is.
depth. Okay, so you lost your
Yeah.
virginity in
Say
the
it.
front of the house. And you're like, I lost my virginity in the front of the house. And here comes your cousin talking about oh man, in front of the house. And I'm like, whoa, pause. The only reference you make about it is to Mrs. Robinson. And I'm like, that's cheating. That's cheating. What did you feel? What happened? What did it mean to your faith? Why did you choose to do it? And what were the repercussions? And I
Yeah.
felt cheated by this dialogue where you're getting everybody else to tell me how you feel except for you. And I still want to know. I still want to know what that
That's great. That's a
experience,
great
how it
observation.
fractured.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
stop cheating me.
You know
Yeah.
what? And you know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you two remember this from my first book, but there's a part in the book where my character, quote unquote, is talking to the voice of Morgan Freeman about these manifestations. He says something along the lines, "Oh, I think these are just my way of like separating myself from these issues that I'm dealing with. And I'm using like these rote manifestations of what it means of all these icons." And I say something along the lines of, "Oh, I think that's just like too simple." It's like it's a very meta moment in the book where I'm referencing that I'm using
Yes.
these characters as a way
Yes.
to separate myself from actually. And
Right.
so, and so
I
when she was
remember
making
that.
like when she was giving me this feedback, forgetting that I wrote that in my original book, I actually said that to her in my response back to her. Oh, like maybe this is just me like separating myself because I don't have any fear or concern of diving deep into any of these, as you two know, but maybe there is something subconsciously there. Um, Now, I think there's a way to strike a balance between having this device and going deeper,
Sure.
and maybe just striking what it is, but knowing that
And
that's yeah. Go ahead.
I would say that it's very powerful when you use it to transition.
Mm-hmm.
But you were in a dumpster looking for a letter. And I don't know if you got dirty. I don't know how long you looked. I don't know how you felt. Were you panicked? There's a letter. There's a letter that an ex wrote him like the week he was going to get married. And he started to read it and stopped and threw it out and went to the dumpster. And here comes his cousin again. And I'm like,
Wait,
what was in the dumpster, y'all?
How did I
Yeah,
miss
what
this
was in
part?
the dumpster?
What did you say, JD?
I don't remember the letter episode. What was?
No, this is in the new book.
Oh,
In
okay. I
my,
haven't read
she's
it.
talking about everything. She
The
hasn't
new
read
book.
Dungeons and Dragons,
Yes.
so everything
I
she's
didn't read
commenting.
Oh,
the
gotcha,
first
gotcha. I
book.
thought she read Dungeons and Do-Rags.
No,
She
no,
hasn't
no.
read
No,
that
no,
yet.
no.
I'm
Yeah,
Got
no,
it,
waiting
no.
got
for
it,
the
got it.
She's
link
referring.
so I can order this.
She's referring to Ron's current, the new one
Got
that
you,
has
got you.
yeah,
Okay,
Right, right, right,
okay.
right.
explores
Yeah,
his religion.
Yes.
makes
Exactly,
sense. Got
exactly.
it,
So
got it.
at one in one part of the book, so like essentially, my mom plays the ghost of Christian past. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ray,
You need to diagram it out. You need
yeah,
to
Ray,
diagram it
right,
out.
That's
Nice. I like
Ray,
perfect.
that.
That's perfect,
Perfect. I
actually.
love it.
Ray, my cousin, plays the ghost of Christian present, and then Denzel from Book of Eli plays the ghost of Christian future. But in the part where Ray, he comes to me, and without mentioning names, but you people will know who I'm talking about. You two will know what I'm talking about. I got a letter from my ex girlfriend at the time, the week before I was going to get married,
Just
and
think about that.
Whoa.
and
Yeah.
it was really
I
long, and
think
I
I
started to
think
read it.
I believe that I have a copy of this letter.
Oh.
There's a
I'm
whole
pretty
new.
sure
The
I'm
plot.
pretty
Because
sure
we know
that
what
I
you're
have
talking
a
about. We
copy
know
of this
all
letter.
parties involved. We know what you're saying.
I need to
And
know. I need to know. I need to know. I'm
As a matter
so
of fact,
overly invested.
I think I ran across a copy of this letter like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh,
Is it a
oh my
really
gosh.
long
Oh
letter? Because it
gosh.
was really long.
It's like 80 pages.
Oh
oh
my
my God.
Yes, yes.
You give a paragraph
Wow.
in the book to an 80-page letter?
But here's the thing. So
Dude.
listen, in real life, I
Okay.
started reading the letter and then I threw it out because I felt like, this is going to get me in the wrong headspace a week before my wedding. So I threw it out. In the book,
Wait, can I pause you? Can I pause you just 1 second though? Because you just said you threw it out. I need to know. What were you thinking on the walk to the trash can? Where was the trash can when you put it in? What happened? Like, I need some more here.
Woo. I had to take a sip.
Tell me, like, please tell me. I'm not even trying to be like,
Yeah,
please
like,
just tell
that's a
me, like,
good
what
Well,
was
first of
it?
all,
Yeah,
I don't
speak on
remember
it.
all
Know
the
it. What happened?
I don't remember all the details
Make
about
it up for me. I'm
Yeah,
okay.
What,
Lie to
what
me.
do you call?
That's-
Do
Come
sensory
on.
recall. You don't have to be specific. Just
No, I
sensory
get
recall.
you.
What was
This
going
is
Yeah.
good
on?
feedback. This is good feedback. All right. The long
No, I
walk.
know.
We call it the
I want
long
the answer.
walk. All right.
Just tell me something.
I think I think in
Ugh.
seriousness, there was some guilt about,
Sure.
even though at that time my ex and I, like, the reason why we had broken up was because I was a Christian and she wasn't, and she was still kind of checking out Christianity, and I felt like it wouldn't be fair. Like, if she became a Christian because of me, she wouldn't have a real relationship with Jesus. So I
But
felt
she
like
did become a Christian,
but she
potentially
did
because
become.
of you, but she had a real relationship and you still didn't read the letter.
So then when she became a Christian, we talked and we decided it would still be best for us to not get back together. So we were separated. So we were still not together. And
Wow,
we both felt
that's some
good
straight
about that.
pimp move right there.
Let me finish.
He said
So then
separated, not broken up.
so
I'm paying real close
I met the
attention.
person who would go on to become my wife and now ex-wife. But at like a week before we got married, like,
Wow.
me meeting my ex-wife and us getting married was short. It was like 6 months from the time we well, 6 months from the time we start our first date to when we actually got married.
Hold on, I have a
So
question. Yolanda, did she know it was a week before the wedding that she was
That
delivering the
was what
letter?
I was just about to ask, because I don't know the answer to that question. Because
Can we get her on text or phone?
no.
Okay.
no, but Ron
Can
can
you
tell
tell
us.
me
She knew I was
later?
getting married though. She knew I was getting married.
You know he was getting. Yeah. Oh yeah. She knew. She
Oh
knew.
yeah, because I think that was part of the.
That was the reason
was
for the
part of
letter.
the letter. Yeah,
That was part of the
part
letter.
of the letter.
That was the
was
reason
part
part
of
of
the
the
I
letter.
don't. But
Yes.
that weekend we saw her after
Yeah, funny enough.
said wedding. We
Funny
were with
enough.
her.
So we went to Ron's wedding,
Who's we?
and then we.
These
Me,
JD was in my
Yolanda,
wedding.
and I.
Wedding.
Okay, not Ron wasn't there. Okay.
Yeah, JD and I went to Ron's wedding, and
JD
then
was in
we
it. It was
left
actually on
there
JD's
and
birthday.
stayed with this person who wrote him the 80-page letter.
Did she
Yeah.
know he read it? Did she ask if he read it? Did she ask if he said
I don't
anything?
They
think
wouldn't
she
have known.
asked.
They
This
wouldn't
is
have
the
known.
first I've heard of this letter. I've never heard of this letter before.
Oh, there's a
Oh.
letter. It's like 80 pages too. And
Well,
Yolanda
Ron-
has a
Wow.
copy.
Thankfully,
Crazy.
you didn't have to dig in the trash because I have it.
Right. So
If
in the
you ever
book,
wanted to read it.
Dude.
I
I need an
Dude.
appendix to the book. I need an
You
appendix
keep
in this
burying
book.
leads all over the place. You start calling you
Wow.
the grave digger because you
Yeah.
got
Right.
bones and skeletons buried up everywhere, man.
who, me?
What? The
I
letter.
have
Oh
bone-
my gosh.
How do I have
You
bones and
keep
skeletons?
burying leads. You buried the lead with our
So
guest. Now you got this
basically, so here's
80-page
what
letter
happened,
out here
Dr.
that
V. Here's
I'm
what
listening.
happened. And he can fill in the blanks, but basically he had decided that he had finally found his path,
Correct.
and he didn't have enough faith in it to read that letter because he was afraid that something in that letter
Would change his mind.
might
No.
cause some kind of something. You
I
can
can-
say
Your
no,
cousin
but
should be
that's
saying.
subconscious.
I can-
That's a subconscious
That's what
fear.
That's what my cousin
your,
should be saying.
That's what your cousin should be saying. That's what
We need the
come on,
transcript from this
Yolanda,
so I can
yeah.
add it to the book. I can honestly tell you, and this can be part of the book, that was absolutely not my concern. Like, I wasn't concerned about.
Well, then why
I
didn't
understand
you
that,
read
but
it?
subconsciously it could have
I'm-
been.
no,
You're
it wa-
subconscious. You don't know what.
Let
you're-
me
All
let
right.
me tell you. Okay.
Make it quick because we don't
Okay.
believe you.
Okay. I have no
That's
problems
what you started out saying just a few minutes ago. You
with
said,
this sort of
I
saying.
thought
Read
that,
this part.
that it would be something. I don't think I should
It would
be
put me in the wrong
reading this
headspace.
letter, putting things in my head a week before my wedding. If you were on the righteous path, the convinced path, then it wouldn't have put anything in your mind.
That's not true, because it wasn't an issue of whether or not I felt like I was making the right decision at the time. It was an issue of one thing you have to
Ooh.
understand.
I quote, especially when the circumstances around our breakup a year earlier were already so provocative.
They were
Yes.
provocative.
Yes.
The circumstances around the breakup were provocative because they were around my Christian faith. And they were around me wanting to be a quote unquote better Christian. And so we broke up.
And he found a very Christian wife.
Correct. And then, but it was really fast. So even though my ex and I did not get back together, I think she's obviously felt kind of way that I would find somebody that quickly and somebody that I would be willing to marry, and that's
Marry.
why she wrote the letter. But I wasn't concerned about like there were no feelings I had for my ex at the time to want to get back. I felt guilt about
Right,
hurting that
but there
person
might
because
have
I
been
cared
something
about
in the
them.
letter that would
That-
have prosecuted why you were choosing to get married to someone else and why this particular person, which would cause some kind of doubt or
I
whatever
mean,
for you to get
because you
married
read
a
the
week before your wedding.
because you
No, I'm
read the
not
letter.
talking about what's in the letter. I'm talking about what you were probably thinking.
Well, that's not what I was thinking.
Wait, in
Not,
6 months,
but let
after
me.
dating her for 8 years, in 6 months, you were over it to the point where you didn't read that letter because you felt it would have been disrespectful to the
Yes,
institution. But after that 8 year history, you didn't feel anything else. It was just the fact it would
no,
be disrespectful to the institution.
because
Because
so
6 months
in
were amazing.
but but no, let me tell you, part of it has to do with like in the Christian community, the respect that a husband has for their wife is paramount. The only thing that you love more is Jesus and God themselves. Like even
That's
before
what you
your
just said.
children, you put your wife. And so this was my wife. And so I was coming from the headspace of a soon to be Christian husband. And how would my soon to be wife feel if the night or whatever few days before a wedding, I'm reading an 80-page letter from my
Why didn't you
ex?
discuss it with her? Why didn't you discuss it with your wife, who you trust and share everything with and become one? That means there's a transfer of information. We can take it there. That means that the two of you should have
Uh-oh.
made a
You know,
joint
so, hey,
decision
Ron.
if they should. And Trump thinks he wants to debate Kamala. The two
Right.
of you would have
Ronald
made a
Trump. We got
joint
Ronald Trump.
decision
Yes.
as one
Don't
flesh.
even go ahead. Say again what you say, Dr. V. You got what?
I said the two of you becoming one flesh should have made that joint decision of what to do with that letter. And your wife, if you're being transparent and thinking about it in terms of respect, there should have been total transparency.
Right.
Did you tell
I
her you
think
just chucked an 80-page letter?
Check.
no, I think that's
Did you even tell her about it? Did you
let
Yeah,
me
even
does
tell her
she
about the letter?
know?
so no, she did not know. I think that is I think that's
Wow.
a total
Wow.
I think that's a totally fair observation. At the time, someone could have given that. I mean, one of the things that we were dealing with,
Woo!
I have a question. Are
yes.
Christian men, new Christian husbands, supposed to keep information from their wives? I'm just curious.
Absolutely not.
How
I'm
would
just curious.
Absolutely not.
I'm just curious.
no,
One flesh.
no, no. But in my mind, that wasn't keeping something. Now, I'm not saying
Oh,
In your mind,
please.
so wait,
Speak
so
into the
in your mind, it was the Christian thing to do to not read
Right.
it,
yes.
but
You're
it
on the level of
was
God. You and God
also
communicate, and
it
you try to
also was
orchestrate how
the it
Christianity
was
works.
also fine in the Christian way to do to not tell
Wow.
her
Wow.
that you'd
Deceive.
received this letter.
Deceive.
Yeah.
I wasn't,
Oh,
first
please
of all, it
ask.
wasn't,
And
Stepped
here's
on a
what I
landmine.
think was going on. This was a very new
all right.
relationship. You just said it.
So
It was very
Acolyte
quick.
was
You
started by
had
Disney.
you had
Yeah. You
no,
want to change the subject,
you
don't
had
you? You
a
want to
very
change the
quick
subject.
relationship. You didn't want to upset the apple cart. You had concerns about what kind of impact the even existence of this letter would have upon your new relationship, and what
Yes.
kind of impact the contents of this letter would have on your thought process about your getting married, not even leaving aside what your thought process about the relationship that it was
Right.
addressing.
You all right
Did you say
now.
yes? Did you just say yes to that?
No,
He said
I
right.
think
He said right.
He said
right.
right.
I think there's some truth to what you're saying, but right now you all are psychoanalyzing the 33-year-old Ron from like
I'm a
20 some odd
doctor. I
years
can't
ago.
do that.
No, I'm
Yes.
saying, but
No,
yeah,
I'm just
but
kidding. That's not my scope. No, but and this is coming
if you could
about.
take if you could step through a time machine and go back to another timeline, an Earth 615 or whatever, and talk to that version of Ron, that would be great.
There's another option.
Which
If the
is
author had given us more insight and been
Yes.
more transparent,
See, that's her point.
we wouldn't be talking about
That
it.
right there. That right there. Because it
I,
speaks to what she's saying, Ron. It speaks to the crux of her criticism.
what?
You're not. I didn't know about this. I thought she was talking about Dungeons and Durags. You dig deep in Dungeons and Durags, even with the humor you have. But this stuff with your personal relationship, I'm learning all kind of new stuff. I've known you for how many years? And
What's new that
said
you
how
learned
open
about the
you are.
letter?
Nigga, 80-page letter.
Well, ask your wife. How come she didn't tell you about the letter?
Ron,
I just realized y'all are married.
Christian wives don't
Yes.
share information with their husband. So, I'm not
Are
gonna
you
help.
just now realize that?
Yes, I just looked at the last names. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
He's upstairs. I'm down here in the office.
Did you tell him about the letter? I guess we need to ask more
Yeah,
questions.
let's talk to Yo.
No,
Why didn't you tell
I-
JD about the letter, Yo?
But wait a second.
know.
We get to Yo. You didn't tell me
Girl
about the
code.
letter. You never
Girl
told me
code.
about a letter, Ron.
I can't remember if I ever did or not. But
Listen,
I could have
but you gotta
easily
know this-
not, because it was so. I will tell you, Dr. V, all of this, we kind of joke about it right now, but all of it was particularly heart-wrenching and tragic at the
I would
time.
imagine.
It was super like gut-wrenching, and the conversations that I was having with this person, like it was rough. And so I was having conversations that I felt like I needed to keep in confidence with that person, even though JD also knew this person.
But you might have, in all fairness, you might have told me.
I might have told you. But I think I might have. I was like, I might have said, because it was 80 something pages. So I was like, oh my God, like this is like some major stuff.
Yeah.
I think I might have mentioned it. Yeah.
That is a book.
Yeah.
As someone that may or may not have written some long letters in her time, I will say, you can also spend some time expanding on the fact that you dated someone for 8 years, met someone, hung out with them for 6 months, and married them, and left this 8-year woman destitute and desolate and devastated over someone you've known for 6 months, who I'm sure is a lovely, lovely, wonderful person. But I could have had a couple more sentences on that and not liked you. And
in your book.
Yeah, in your book.
Hey, Ron.
Because that's
Ron, you straight took that person to the Phantom Zone and dropped them off, and it bounced.
Rough. I feel for her. I like her more than you. I just want you to know.
The person that wrote the book, he said you dropped her off in the Phantom Zone and said, peace, deuces.
See ya, deuces. Find your way back.
After she did all the things you asked, learned all the things, did all the growth, got to the same place, and then you want to judge her journey to the place and say,
I didn't
judge her
journey.
Dr. V, she went to church.
That's what I'm saying. You got there because of me, so it doesn't count. Man, get out of here with that.
Do you think she did those?
Hey, your pimp game is strong, brother. Your pimp game is strong.
Do you think she did those things for me or for her? She did them for herself.
I will answer that question.
Her walk with God.
I will answer that question. I will answer that question.
Her walk with God.
Wait. Yo, before you answer, because even though we're not mentioning names, make sure you're not saying anything that still would be confidence for this person, even though we're not mentioning names.
I think it's fine. She did it for you at first.
At first, yes.
And then very sincerely, it became a legitimate personal choice.
Correct.
She found God and faith and comfort and all kinds of things in her own Christian practice.
Right.
Of having gone down this road initially, because guess what? I'm in entertainment because I was running after JD. I would have never been trying to do anything in film school or in film, none of it. I went to school for accounting. I was starting my career in public accounting. I have no qualms ever about saying, and I have repeatedly said on many interviews and podcasts, that I got into this because of meeting my husband at USC, and he was doing film.
Right.
That doesn't delegitimize what it is that I'm doing with it now.
No, I hear you. I guess what I'm saying.
Ron,
go ahead, Dr. V.
Since you judged her walk with God.
No, I didn't. I didn't judge her walk.
I'm sorry. You determined that you were the reason, and because you were the reason, it was not clean, pure enough, or recognizable enough. You did. I got it here.
So let me correct you. I said
Ron, don't you
said,
have this in writing somewhere, Ron? She's looking at. She's looking at.
Did you know? I've got
Yes,
search.
right.
because she's doing the AI thing that's
I
like
said,
typing up what we're saying.
It's right
I
here.
said the
in
reason
there.
why I
She has
broke
the-
up is because at the time we broke up, she had not become a Christian yet. So
Right, I understand.
right. And so I was saying, if she became a Christian, I wanted her to become a Christian because of her, not because she thought that was the best way to
The
stay
word
with
will
me.
not return void. The word will not return void. So regardless of when you hear the word or who is saying, that's what they say
Sure.
every time there's a female preacher and they say you can't have a female preacher. And then you're like,
Right,
but
right.
look at all the good. The word won't turn void. So if the
Right.
word won't return void, it's not for you to say what her path is, how her path is, or that
True.
your intervention in her path somehow taints it in a way that makes it
Yes.
not enough.
That's fair.
But when she did become a Christian and you were not married, and this person that you had done so much growth with, who did some growth for you and then completed the growth for herself or continued it, came to you before you were married and said, you know what? I've had a revelation from God and I think you should examine it. You said, no. Not only that, I will toss it aside, throw it away, and not tell my readers anything of what I was feeling when that happened.
Wow.
So I agree. I should add more to that part of the book.
Yeah, brother.
Kamala doesn't want Trump.
And
Well, you
two,
gotta rewind this part right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm never coming back, y'all. It's been
Yes,
so
you are.
nice
No.
meeting you.
You're gonna get invited back many times.
No.
Times.
No. In all seriousness,
Ron.
I think this is great insight in terms of me expanding.
Absolutely.
You know what's gonna be super, super interesting?
What?
Having listened to what Dr. V has just said and
Uh-huh.
then reading that letter.
Right.
Will you read it now?
From what I'm recalling, and this is many, many years ago,
It was a long time ago.
much of what you are saying
Uh-huh.
is reflected in the letter.
In that letter. I'm sure it is.
What you gonna do
sure.
with it? Are you gonna read it now? Are you gonna read it now?
I'm interested.
Podcast is a
You scared.
It's
You
a podcast.
scared.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. It'll
You're
be weird.
outside of the club
Listen.
and you think I'm a punk. Bone crusher.
Right.
You scared. You
I
scared.
ain't
You're a
never
little scared.
I ain't never scared.
East side.
You might want to read it right. It might be great for the. It might be great for your book.
You don't have a black card.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
he ain't
It
got his
might
black
be
card,
great.
especially with
It
Bone
might be
Crusher.
great for writing your book, dude.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So next time, anyway, do you have a physical or digital?
Digital, but brother,
Yeah.
how would I have a
You
physical?
could have it now.
I don't know.
Are
Print
you
it
in a
out and give you a
relationship?
copy. Currently, yeah. I'm in a great relationship.
I didn't want to out you, so I didn't know if you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to discuss the person you're in a relationship with in this letter before you start reading that first page of 80?
Wait, what? Am I going to discuss that?
You'd have to. Are you going to tell your current person before you read the letter
About the letter.
About the
Now
letter.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Oh, gee. Oh, yeah.
There's
I can ask you right now.
this is
later.
an
You can tell
easy
her
answer.
later.
Yeah.
Do not pause.
That
There's one
game,
answer.
He looking around his shoulder, looking over his shoulder.
This
making
was
sure
a-
someone
this
else
was
ain't there.
A layup. This is the easy one. Let me
What?
help you. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
Obviously.
Oh, now
If I
it's
read
of
the
I
course.
don't know
letter,
why it took you so
Before it
long
wasn't,
to
of course.
answer. I was
Before it wasn't
expecting you to
obvious, of
immediately
course.
Because-
say yes.
no, because I was saying I was going to demonstrate by asking her.
Suspect.
Right. I was never mind. You guys don't get it. I was going to demonstrate that I have no
We
problem
don't
doing
get
that
it.
by asking her right now, hey, Virginia, do you mind if I read an 80-page letter from my 2 exes ago girlfriend? Whatever.
That I dated for 8 years, that I had to throw
Yeah,
in the
right.
trash before my wedding, or else my wedding might have been compromised.
Your
You need to give her the whole
current-
thing.
Your current partner.
Virginia, are you
knows-
hearing this?
Don't hit him on camera.
Wait.
Don't
Yeah,
hit him
don't-
on camera.
All you gotta see is the big frying pan come across the
Ron,
screen and hit
your
Ron in the
current
head.
partner.
Bing.
Your current partner knows all about this person, right?
Yeah, I've told her
Okay.
about it, of course.
I would assume.
She knows
Yeah,
about
yeah,
wait.
she knows.
She knows about both of them, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay, that's
All right, I
help.
just wanna
That's going to
double
help
check.
you.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
Ron
Will
is
help.
slippery. Ron is slippery. Ron be, I told you she knew about
Well,
the one
she for
person, but
sure
not the
knows
other
about the most recent ex.
person. Yes. But
Yeah,
she
of
might not know
course.
about
I
the
don't
other
know how
one.
much she knows about the ex prior.
Yeah.
She knows I told her the whole story
And
about
tell
how
Virginia, I still want Virginia to hold the black revoke cards. You don't get to hold those no more. She
Yes,
needs to hold them.
yes.
I
Yes.
agree.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I'm new, but I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get to be the one authoring,
Right.
that's
The
fine.
arbiter. You're not the arbiter.
over the cards.
That's fine.
Yeah, arbiter.
I
there,
look-
thank you.
I look forward to participating and go head to head with you two
Good.
Black Card
I do
Trivia.
too. I do too.
He didn't say
You're
me.
like 15-0.
You too.
Ron is 15-0 right now.
Look.
Ooh,
Anyway,
that's
Hey,
ugly.
hilarious.
That's
Dr. B,
anyway,
ugly.
in all
coming back.
seriousness,
Wait, I
He
have a
ain't coming back.
question. I have a question. Let's bring us back. Let's bring us back.
yeah.
So I love this. I was actually, when Ron told us you were joining us and why you were joining us, I was like, oh, that's a great observation, and one I wish that I had kind of thought about myself. So
Mhm.
we've touched upon this trash can incident, but are there
Yes.
other
There are.
other areas in the book that you would point to, Dr. V, that are the same where
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute, where's the rest
Yeah.
of
Good
this?
question.
Absolutely.
She got a
So
list.
I do. So definitely the whole when you had your first experience, that
I
is
lost my
light.
virginity in
That's
front of
light on
Riz
Yeah.
truly
aunt's
connecting.
house. Yeah.
And it goes through. I will tell you a time when I didn't see it get in the way, and those are the
Okay.
conversations with your mom. Those
Hmm.
those were real, and those were connected conversations.
Hmm.
The rest of those conversations felt like a bit of a deflection every
Mm.
time you get kind of close. Now, at the end of the book, that last conversation, that was real. That
Mm.
was real.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like the hokey pokey, like you put your toe in, you put your toe out, you put your right hand in, ooh, that's hot, you took it out.
Right.
There's and that's what I'm talking about, because there's times when you make a reference, like we said earlier, if you're referencing Samuel Jackson, but what does that mean to you?
Mhm.
Right? You're calling on me to go into my mind and pull up my image. You're calling on me to use Denzel
Mhm.
and think about the book of Eli instead of Denzel. So first
Mhm.
off,
Mhm.
that
Right,
could be a whole
yes.
pause. Right? That's a whole pause right there. I'm distracted. Right? But like, I want those to be conduits, but not the connection.
Mhm.
You can't tell me about your first time, drop a Mrs. Robinson reference, say but it's not like this other thing,
Mm.
and then zip off somewhere else. That to me could be expanded as
I
much
think
as the
that's
dumpster
great
incident.
feedback.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
that's
I
excellent
agree.
feedback.
Yeah. No, I
You
think
said you danced. He said we danced all night. We went back. We were in front of the house, and we didn't want it to end. And then Mrs. Robinson, and then he's doing something with his cousin. I'm like,
What are the other ones
no.
besides that? What are the other moments where you said,
He references his the house that looks like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that
Yeah.
house. But
yeah,
you
because
use that reference and you don't describe to me, what did it feel like to be in a different house from that house? What did that progression feel like? What did it mean? What did that mean for the relationships around it? What were the stressors of making those payments? Or what did that feel like in the age that you wore with that transition? I want to know more about that, because you say Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm left wondering, are you talking about his transition from down and out in
Philly.
Philly to this safer place? Are you talking about what it's like to have so much that you forget yourself? Are you talking about what it's like watching, and I'm not saying this is true, but your mom potentially playing this very lightweight role that was like when it was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? They had that female lead actress leave because she didn't feel that there was enough substance there. So when you throw those references out there without you behind it, I have a lot of interpretations that distract me from your story. And your story is quite compelling.
Wow.
So
I want to know more.
No, I think that's great feedback. But so here's what I would say to that. And I think part of it is some of what you're talking about, I personally don't have, as it relates to this story, like an interest in writing about. Like, so the first Prince of Bel-Air reference, the whole point of that was just to paint a picture with one pop culture reference, what my home life was like. Upper middle class black family. My stepdad was a doctor. My mom stayed at home. We had this big house, and to paint the picture of what it was like when I came home, not to go into detail in that spot about what it was like coming to this new home, because the home they lived in before that was also another big home. It was in the Hollywood Hills, so these went from one big home to
So why
another big
mention
home
it?
to paint the picture of the kind of black family I grew up in. I was an upper middle class black family. So that's what I was attempting to do in making that reference, not necessarily because I do go into some detail
Well,
about my
how many
stepdad.
siblings were living in that house with you?
I didn't live in that house. That's the other thing.
So
That's
why
the
are we
house
talking
that,
about the house?
because I was mentioning it as when I came home from college, I would go to my parents' new house, which was this house in Altadena, around the corner from the house where they filmed, Beverly Hills 90210 house. It was just like a reference to where I went when I came home. Because the whole point of that was to tell the story of when I came home from college, I would hang out with my cousin and we would go dancing. And then I met this older woman and she ended up being my first time. It was
You
not to
told me
get,
more about the house than you did that woman. And then you're telling me the house isn't important. You took me from 90210, so super white. So was there something empty in the home? Was there something lacking in the home? Was there something special about the home? Was there a special
You know
room
what
in the
I
home?
think it
Like
is though? I think
that
it's I think in this particular instance, and I've seen it in other settings and other people's writing, is Ron and JD too. He has this cinematic mind and
yes.
viewpoint. And so I would imagine, like, what I'm hearing, because I haven't read it, he's like creating a TV show on the page. Like
one of my
he's
notes.
seeing this visual in his mind as a TV show, and he wrote it down
I think I messaged him.
so that you would
Yeah.
experience reading this as if you were watching a TV show. Is
My
probably
girl,
why he
You
he's
got
going
dialogue
on
in it for
about this
sure.
TV.
You got dialogue and you need to tell me. You need
Yeah.
to tell me
Virginia,
why you're telling me.
Virginia is always teasing me about how I make everything a TV show because I'll make some reference to something and she'll roll her eyes or say something like you make everything a TV show. Like I get it. And so I mean, that's the style of my first book. That is what my life is like. Like I do think like that,
Yeah.
for
I
better or for
I
worse.
wouldn't mind. I just didn't know that you were just I didn't know that was a throwaway reference. Or
Right.
let me right. So I just needed more direction
No,
because
no, no. I think
I'm
no.
looking for Easter eggs.
You're
Right.
right,
You're
right.
taking the time to tell me. I'm
But
thinking
but
90210.
to her point, to Dr. V's point, she's as a reader, she gets to know more about the house than she gets to know about how you felt about this moment.
Thank you.
Which moment? About me losing the
Yes, about you
I
losing
don't
your
think you know
virginity
more
and
about the
like
house.
what.
I don't think I disagree with that.
I know what the house looks like. I know what your affluent status was like. I know the neighborhood that it was in.
Okay.
I can call references from 90210 and imagine the type of people that were in your neighborhood. I can imagine that you weren't hungry. I can imagine
Right.
that you probably sat down for family dinners.
So with the woman, you can list a bunch of things
But
you know about her.
what does she know
You
about
danced
how
with
you
her.
felt about what transpired in the time span that you parked
Hmm.
and lost your virginity and whenever you got out, like how much did you talk about that part?
A paragraph.
It was probably more than a paragraph, I'm sure.
It's
And
two
how much of that
paragraphs. I
paragraph
lost
was
my
making
virginity
reference
at 19 in a
and
car
how
in
much
front
of
of my
that
aunt's house.
paragraph was making reference to other people and other things?
Well, and that I think I make a reference. So I say she was like
One,
Mrs. Robinson to my Ben,
two,
like referencing the movie.
three.
Yeah. So that's her
You reference
point.
your Aunt Grace,
Yes, because I
Mrs.
lost in front of
Robinson,
my Aunt Grace's house.
and you literally use the words
JD,
bada
change
bing,
your
bada
desktop.
boom. So now here we go. We're back. We're done with that. It's
Change your
two
desktop.
paragraphs.
Yeah. No, like I said, I absolutely think going diving deeper into like my first time and like what that means for my faith. I mean,
Okay.
ironically enough, I didn't have any guilt about it as it related to my faith because at that time I wasn't, as they say, walking with the Lord. Even though I still believed in God, I wasn't like going to church or anything. I wasn't the kind of Christian I was by the time my later 20s came along. So so
So that didn't
there was
bother
no
you.
real impact on my faith per se. It was more about finally, my cousin who used to always tease me about waiting so long before it happened.
I would say this in in three paragraphs, and that's generous. In three paragraphs, you go from your first time to I think it was something about an arcade.
Yeah, my my cousin and I, we used to go play at the arcade. All right.
That's
So,
just too
and
fast.
bottom line, I need to write more about my first time, and I need to write more about the long walk to the letter.
You need to tell me more about you. And I say that with all joking aside.
No,
I
yeah,
want to know more about how it impacted
Your journey. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, no,
Not
This
this is
just
book
good.
is
what
about
she's
your
saying,
journey.
not just here's what happened, like the benchmarks of the facts of like
Right.
she wants to know more about you have written about the things that are happening, the moments within the timeline of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have said, here's where I was at this particular point in my life, here's where I was at another point in my life, and here's where I am now. And then you've
Mm-hmm.
given kind of like these steps and these settings of like factoids, scenes in a TV show of what
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
But what you haven't given your reader is what impact those particular things that happened were that got you from one point to the next and where you are now. How those moments and those TV scenes had an impact on you emotionally or psychologically or whatever else that kept you going from one point in your journey to the next, and how you got to where you are now is what she's saying. She's missing that in the writing.
Yeah. No,
All
I hear
she's
that.
doing is watching TV scenes
But
and maybe having to make some inferences that could be wrong. She has no idea.
hey,
It could be wrong, it could be right. It's like
Sure.
you watch a TV show, if you watch a TV show where you have a bad writer and you watch the scenes and then you're like, well, I guess this person did this thing because of this, but I'm not really sure because I didn't really get it in the writing,
Mm-hmm.
versus good writing where you know exactly why characters have their particular motivation because the writing is good, the acting and the dialogue demonstrates what kind of impact and stuff that the characters are having upon each other or that they're having with themselves.
Right.
let me
You
offer nerd speak. Let me offer nerd speak. It's like Andor versus Acolyte in writing.
Okay. So this is probably my cue to leave. I just hope y'all don't come for me like I came for Ron when y'all read my book and hopefully have me back on
No,
to
No, no,
discuss it.
no, no, no.
no, but in all seriousness, here before you go,
I
Dr.
feel
V,
like you could handle us though, Dr. V, if we
Yeah,
did.
I
yeah,
would love it. And
yeah.
I'd probably agree.
I
yeah.
think there are two aspects, especially to the two scenes you mentioned, where I think the insight as to why I did not dive into them as deeply as I did is because one, my focus is on what milestones in my life impacted my faith walk, and those two things, that letter and losing my virginity, had nothing to do with my faith walk in terms of making it grow, losing it, or what have you. That combined with, particularly this as it relates to the letter, being conscious of not telling somebody else's story.
We scared him off the feed. Right.
I'm recording. He can't tell me
Nice.
that
All
his
right.
walk with God was not impacted by his first sexual experiences nor his choices
Yeah,
in
it's impossible.
relationships.
It's impossible.
That doesn't feel true.
And you know
Look,
what? But
I'll tell you what, maybe that sexual experience, which I completely agree with you, but that whole situation of, I'm not putting all Ron's business out in the world, but that
I
whole
wish you
situation
would.
of
I need to know.
that 6-month period, there was stuff going on.
but wait,
Okay.
I would just say,
Okay.
and I would say this.
And I would say stuff going on that
Are you
pertains
talking to me, yeah?
No.
I'm talking to Dr. V.
We're having a
Oh, okay,
relationship.
okay.
Since you
Stuff
checked
going
out on
on
us, we're having our own relationship.
pertaining to Ron, significantly tied to Ron's faith journey.
Mm.
Period. Period.
Wait, what did you say?
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like you said something important.
I said that
She
period.
said what
I
she
said
said.
you could say whatever you want.
Right.
That period, baby. I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that, but that period of your, the various relationships you had and the lead up to your marriage was significantly tied to your faith journey. And for
Oh,
you
I
to
didn't
say
say it
it was
wasn't.
not is crazy.
No, I'm not saying that it
No,
wasn't.
you said Dr. V, you just told Dr. V that the reason you didn't expound upon it was because those two instances were not significant in your faith journey. That's what you
You
just
did say
told
that.
her.
It's
Right.
on tape.
The letter specifically, I said there were two things. Those two things, and the thing I started to say is where I get cut out. The other thing
Guy don't
is
like ugly.
no. The other thing is,
Or liars.
as it pertains, in all seriousness, as it pertains to the letter, that story is related to two people whose private life I'm trying to protect with. I want to be able, in both books, I want to be able to share my life. My ex-wife is an extremely private person now. I want to be very respectful of anything I share with regards to things we talked about, things we discussed, like what really pertained to me and the decisions I made. And I feel fine talking about decisions I made as it related to who I broke up with and stuff like that. But the more I dive into, like, I don't go into detail about things that happened during our relationship,
Okay, this is
our
interesting,
marriage and
but you
stuff
didn't
like that.
you didn't bring this up before when it came up.
But
Now
talking
all of a sudden
about
it's about privacy.
But
You said
he
before
said that
it
to
was-
me. In fairness, he said that to me, but talking about your experience and your reaction to those things is not breaking confidence. And it
Yeah.
sounds to me
True.
like your
Yeah.
real problem is the fact that, unlike me, you only have one ex. See, I talk about my exes all the time. You can pick which one you want, right? But because you only have one, but you own, and I said this to you before, you own and have a right to own your reaction and your participation in those circumstances.
Sure.
And she can be as private as she wants to be, but how you felt and what
Mhm.
you did, she doesn't own that, and she doesn't have a right to that. And
Right.
No, true.
she shouldn't want a right to that, right? And if she does,
Right.
well, she can should something
No,
else. But
that's what, yeah.
you have to share that if you're going to talk about, or don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
But it shapes you, and it's interesting, and how you felt and why you did what you did. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm afraid if I would have read that letter, I might have always wondered. I'm afraid if I read that letter, I might have questioned how I led her to God. I'm afraid if I read that letter that I might have had to face the fact that I didn't pick the most perfect Christian woman for me. Perhaps there was an alternative I didn't examine. I
Mhm.
might have had to, whatever that is. That's
Or
your
if I would have read that letter, it might have given me pause about actually getting married.
oh,
And I was determined to get married to a Christian
No,
woman that I
no, I
found,
think
who was my ideal that I had conjured in my mind.
sure. No, right. No, I hear what you're saying. And that's why I do think I'm just painting a picture as to why I probably did not dive deeper into those two aspects at the time I wrote it. But hearing the feedback is like, okay, I do think there's space for me to expound, like, for instance, on the letter,
why didn't you read the
on
letter, Ron?
But and
I
it's
just
not about Ron, it's not about space, it's critical. It's not just allowing for a little bit of
what's
space,
critical.
it's a delving into these topics that you bring up.
Uh-huh.
Because if you don't, you know what it is? That's straight cap. You straight capping in your book. You ain't gonna bring it
Yep.
up.
Yep. Yep. True. That's true. That's that part. That
Or
part.
at
Right.
least even for your own self, your own
Yeah.
development, your own truth. Your own truth. Just be truthful to you.
If you have any doubt about it, simply
You're
think
gonna have to say that
about.
again, yo, because you
Oh look,
went out.
No,
here
I'm
go the feet
recording.
now. Here go the feet again. Here go the feet
I'm
again.
recording.
There goes the feet again.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, Dr. V
Whenever it gets
recorded
hot, the
this
feet
time.
gets cut off.
Yeah.
But for the
It's
simple
true.
fact of my reaction, my visceral reaction to the fact that that letter might still exist, you have to go deeper.
Right.
I only read the book one time, and here's the things that
Yeah.
stood out to me. And I'm
No,
asking you as an author to tell me more.
No,
And
I
you
feel
can
fine
hide
going deeper
behind
into the
someone
letter.
else's. You can
But
hide, but you need to dive deeper in general in this book. We
Right.
deserve more transparency from you as readers who have
I'm really
embarked on this journey.
yeah. As two people who know me, I'll be really curious when Jade and Yolanda get to reading.
They're gonna be like, Dr. V was totally
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
You don't know
Now
what she was
I'm
talking
like,
about.
No.
I haven't
can
made
tell you
time
right.
yet. I
can
haven't
already
made
tell you
time yet,
right.
but now I've been wanting to because I
Yeah.
think it's a perfect, I think it's
I
the
think you two will
perfect
enjoy it.
second book to the original book. And I was super excited about hearing what his approach was to it. And I haven't made the time. And now, after having had this conversation, I need to go pick it up right away.
I know it's juicy.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had got that far in it. I thought you just had like a half of a
Oh, he
manuscript or
sent it
something.
to us. He
I
sent
sent
it
you
to
a
us.
link
I
to
didn't
the
want
whole
to. Yeah, but I didn't
manuscript.
want to.
He sent us
Yeah.
the manuscript.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought it was like
Yeah.
I didn't want to read 10 half
No,
drafts.
yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
make
no, it's the whole
sure.
thing.
Here's your
No, it's the
first
whole
rough
thing.
draft, and I'll read it. But I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
want like.
it's the whole thing. It's the
Oh,
thing.
okay. Well, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's a quick read. It's not a tedious read. It gets
Yeah.
tough with all the references because I'm trying to fit the references
Yeah.
into his narrative as opposed to mine, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
That.
yes.
But I mean, let me just say and be very clear about it. I enjoyed the book. Thank you for
No,
sharing
thank
it
you.
with me. And thank you for
reading
taking
it.
the criticism and feedback and thoughts and opinions because I
Yeah.
am shooting on you and you don't have to have that. You
No, I
chose it.
appreciate it.
That's the best thing.
Thank you.
Hey, that's, you know what? That's Ron's superpower. Ron's superpower is taking feedback. Like I
That's
always
Yeah.
marvel at Ron. Like he
And Doctor,
takes
you're
it
not.
and he's like he
Yeah.
takes it, he welcomes it. It's like I don't know how he feels about it, but he's really, really great at it and
That's
also
dope.
really good at turning it into a positive, which is something I really love about him. So
Absolutely. And you're not shitting on him. I mean, this is
Oh,
constructive.
I said should.
Shoulding.
SHOULD.
I was like,
I said
whoa.
shoulding.
Should have.
shitting.
I
Yeah,
should
shoulding.
have.
I heard
Yeah, no,
shitting too. So
Okay.
I heard shitting. So I'm like, dang, she getting real with him.
shoulding.
shitting,
All right,
shitting.
And
got
maybe
I
we
heard you,
can
Dr. V.
explain that earlier when I say it. I talk a lot about shoulding. You should do this. You should do that. I don't want to should on.
yeah.
No.
Right.
No, I heard what you meant. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You should have
Well,
heard
this
what
has been
Dr. V was
good.
I was
saying.
like, hey, Dr. V. Boykin, he's
Dr.
real
V.
up in the
Ratchet
podcast.
Boykin.
Right.
Hey.
Hey,
I
thanks,
love
y'all.
Dr. V.
I appreciate
Dr. V, where are you
Hey.
based?
Yeah.
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. It's not my fault. I do
Oh.
not condone the Proud
Okay.
Boys.
Wait, I
All
thought
right,
you
well,
were. I thought you were back east. I guess I got that
I
wrong.
was on the East Coast until 2017. Until
Oh, okay.
2017. And now I'm in
Well,
Phoenix, Arizona.
yeah, we'll have to get together. I need to
Let's do it.
have more opportunity to
Yes,
commune
we'll
with-
have you on again for sure.
Yeah,
I would love
absolutely.
Y'all can rip the book. Y'all can rip it to shreds.
No,
and I'll
no,
be
no,
like,
no.
cool. I'll be
Nah,
just as
that's
positive.
good,
That's a
good.
lie. I will not. It'll be a whole different podcast. I'll be like, I disagree, and you need to watch your tone and fix your face.
Watch your
All right,
tone.
adjust your
Fix your
face, adjust your tone.
That's right. That's right. Hey, y'all be good. It's been a pleasure.
All
So
right.
nice
Hey,
to
thanks,
see
Dr.
you.
V.
Bye,
Jump,
Dr. V.
When I get the recording, if it comes my way, I'll make sure I send it to you.
Yes,
and then make sure
please.
someone else starts
Thank
recording.
Thank you.
Y'all be
Yeah.
good. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right.
Bye, Dr.
Thanks,
V.
Ron.
Bye.
I want that letter.
She was great. She was great.
See, and
Love
you
that.
two
I
would
love
like
her.
her. She's
Yeah.
cool.